Before the 2022 NBA season, many cities had COVID policies that restricted unvaccinated players from participating in games. For many, this was not a problem, but some players were not and were hoping to stay unvaccinated. Among these players were Kyrie Irving and Andrew Wiggins. Both of their cities had COVID policies that would not allow them to play. As we know, Andrew Wiggins ended up getting vaccinated and Kyrie chose to remain unvaccinated, and also as we know, their seasons turned out very different. Disclaimer, this video is not a political statement saying you should or shouldn't get vaccinated. That is for you to decide. But in this video, I'll be going over how Andrew Wiggins' personal sacrifice to help his team win turned out much differently than Kyrie not making the same sacrifice. Starting this chapter, let's address the elephant in the room. Andrew Wiggins, as the second best player on his team, won an NBA championship. Kyrie Irving, as the second best player on his team, got swept in the first round. Also, Kyrie only played 29 regular season games, while Andrew Wiggins played 73. This obviously played a role in the outcome, as with Kyrie, the Nets probably don't end up a lower seed and play a much worse team in the first round. Also, the Warriors probably don't end up such a high seed without Wiggins. Wiggins also earned himself an all-star start. Even if you think he didn't deserve it, it's still better than Kyrie not being an all-star. Now, obviously, these differences in seasons stick out. We can see that Andrew Wiggins was rewarded for his sacrifice and Kyrie was penalized. Even with all these benefits to Wiggins and Kyrie's struggles, I think we are just starting to see how this sacrifice, or lack thereof, is going to change these players' careers. First, we'll start off with benefits for Wiggins. The season was a huge breakout year for him and really revitalized his career. Before this season, he was seen as a huge bust, but now he's an all-star who was the second best player on a championship team. Wiggins has proved himself. This has benefits such as a nice next contract, as well as getting rid of the bust title he bared for so many years. Also, Wiggins has put himself in a position setting him and his team up for success many years into the future. Now let's see how this lack of sacrifice hurt Kyrie. The biggest one is his image. Kyrie was already seen as somewhat of an unreliable guy who doesn't have basketball success as his priority. This season has just furthered this and has many teams hesitant to trade for him because there's a chance he won't play for them and be dead salary. Speaking of salary, Kyrie did not receive the extension he wanted. Now he had to opt out of his contract, and if he can't prove himself this season, will lose a lot of money in the future. Even if he does prove himself, teams might not give him a huge contract because of this season and him being unreliable. Kyrie has shown over and over again that he is not a reliable or good teammate, and that has put him in a position where he is unsure of his future success. I think this situation has a bigger effect on Kyrie's legacy, so let's start with Wiggins. Wiggins is now an NBA champion, an all-star, and not a bust. Andrew Wiggins was the #1 example of the modern overhyped bust, but now I think that narrative won't stick with his legacy. He wasn't LeBron, but a big contribution to a championship is more than most can say. Now for Kyrie's legacy. Kyrie's legacy was already on the downhill going into this season, and this definitely didn't help. As of now, Kyrie will be seen as a player who put himself before the team, which since 2017 has inhibited his success. He will always be the guy who hit the biggest three in the biggest finals comeback, but he will also be remembered as the guy who was put on one of the most talented teams of all time and couldn't make it work. It wasn't all his fault, but of the big three, I would place most of the blame on him. Kyrie's entire legacy is so complicated that next week I'll be dropping a video about the complex legacy of Kyrie. Kyrie's goal when leaving Cleveland was to prove he could lead a team, when in reality, he just proved the opposite. I think the biggest takeaway from this is that success does not come without sacrifice. Not only is there a situation like this, where you sacrifice your beliefs, but every NBA championship has taken sacrifice. Whether that is taking a reduced paycheck, a reduced role, or just dedicating your whole life to being the greatest version you can be, you must sacrifice something to reach the top. Players that put team success over individual success will always find a way to the top. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you want to further this conversation, please feel free to comment in the comments below. Remember to keep the conversation basketball related, as this video is in no way a political statement. Once again, I'll be dropping a video on Kyrie's legacy next week and would appreciate it if you checked it out. Subscribe so you can see that video or any other video I drop in the future. Peace out.